Greetings and salutations everybody, this is obviously Lite here, and today I'm gonna be doing a sponsored video on the PLYR network. We're gonna be exploring what exactly is this project about. We're gonna be diving into their July roadmap, and also we're gonna be looking at what exactly makes it an interesting investment from the investor's point of view. What are the things that is making it proprietary and different from the rest of the competition? So let's kind of get started explaining a bit about the PLYR network. What exactly is this project about? So this is a Web3 gaming based blockchain. It is an AVAX subnet, which is currently on the testnet. But in less than 2 days, they are actually going to be launching their mainnet, which is part of their July roadmap, which is with a lot of updates, which we are going to be exploring in a minute. First, I want you to guys kind of get acquainted what exactly PLYR is trying to do in the space. So this is a Web3 gaming ecosystem for obviously players and game developers alike. They got a lot of interesting features here, which, you know, have been seen in other chains, and some of them are also very proprietary and unique to PLYR. There is going to be also a cluster sale happening in July, and that is actually equivalent to a node, and we're going to be touching upon also that later on. And for the airdrop hunters, there's also going to be an actual Zeely project where they're going to be allocating $20,000 worth of money in terms of an airdrop. So a lot of opportunities for you to guys make some money, whatever it's participating on the pre-sales or the cluster sale or on this airdrop campaign once it's going to be hitting on the shelves. And another very big feature that we have to talk about on the PLYR network is the PLYR ID, which is a form of a passport existing inside the PLYR ecosystem. Everybody can basically pick out their own custom name, which ends in .PLYR, and this makes it very much more convenient to use instead of having an EVM address with random numbers and letters that nobody really remembers. So now you can have a nickname that everybody can use, and you can add friends, and you can share your ID to other people. And it makes it a lot more convenient experience. But also under the hood, there are a lot of other functionalities that come along with the PLYR ID. So for example, it's using SSO, which stands for Single Sign-On Experience. So everything that you're going to be interacting in the ecosystem, as I said, will always use this one single sign-on. You don't need to create another separate account or ID or a Gmail account for another game in the ecosystem. Everything can be logged in with the PLYR ID. Another very cool feature is actually that you can have 2FA attached into this ID. So if you want more security for this ID, you have the ability to basically attach the 2FA authentication into this wallet. Also, in case you don't want to connect inside to a game using your wallet, you also have the ability to use a guest account. So in case you feel that this game is not very secure or this dApp is not very secure, you have the ability to basically use a guest account. And lastly, they do have this mirror address feature, which is a form of a dynamic link between the PLYR ID and the game's API. And all the facilitated in-game transactions are now serving as a secure conduit that protects players' primary assets. So basically you have this sort of a secondary address which is happening under the hood, which is doing all of those big transactions without really interacting with your main account, essentially. So this is another very unique feature that the PLYR ID brings along, and it has a lot of different functionalities which make it a lot more easier to use compared to your normal wallets and normal accounts that you use in other Web3 spaces. And there's going to be also staking functionality, and by staking your PLYR, you're going to be getting PLYR rewards, and that's part of how the actual supply is going to be inflating. And as I already alluded earlier, this is a Web3 gaming experience, and there's going to be a lot of involved bodies inside PLYR. Like, there's already a plethora of games which are kind of part of the ecosystem. They also are going to be having this mobile application, which is called Sidekick. And Sidekick is going to be kind of like your one-way login to every single game in the ecosystem. So you can just simply scan a QR code and then voila, you're basically logged into the game, which is very convenient given the fact that there has been some Web3 games which have been not very easy when it comes to the login systems, or they're not exactly secure. So having a separate wallet which is being used throughout the mobile device to log into the games sounds a lot more secure and better way to basically deal with this. And this is also coming into the browser, and apparently they're going to be launching on Firefox, Opera, Edge, Chrome, and Brave. So all basically mainstream browsers are going to be supported here for Sidekick. So you can basically, if you don't have a phone, you have the browser opportunity as well in the future. Now, the on PLYR is also going to be one of their trademark products. This is going to be a marketplace where people can sell their games, subscriptions, or deploy NFTs inside their games. And there's already a multitude of games here which are being supported. Zoo Racers, which we have talked about in the channel in the past. And there's a lot of other like poker games and things like that. And anybody can basically, you know, kind of get partnered up with PLYR and start deploying their games throughout this marketplace. And I think that's kind of the way to go. Instead of having like a one game, you have a whole ecosystem where everybody can basically start participate on and start publishing their games. And everybody can have their different models. Maybe they're selling a Web2 game, maybe they're selling NFTs for a Web3 game, or they're selling NFTs and tokens and etc. So there's a lot of customization opportunities available on the PLYR marketplace. And here is kind of like going into the developers. So they kind of talk about, you know, the base technology. So whatever your Unity developer, Android, iOS, Microsoft, or using Unreal Engine, basically everybody can start building stuff under the PLYR thing, which is pretty good. And now we are going to be going into bit of the roadmap. So they already have like quarters here. We got Q2, which is the testnet launch. And then we have a list of Q3 things, which we're going to be going through. And let's now jump into the actual July roadmap for PLYR and all the updates that they're going to be doing. So as we already alluded earlier, the Mainnet launch is going to be happening on July 1st, 1 p.m. UTC time. They're going to be launching their PLYR, which is the ticker token on the mainnet. This mainnet is going to be having 50,000 TPS, which I believe is the same one that AVAX is currently able to do, or maybe this is even faster. And sub-second transaction finality, which is pretty impressive, and net zero carbon impact. So people who are worried about environment stuff, well, you don't need to worry about it because it's basically very environmentally friendly. And the other very big update, which is going to be happening on July 3rd, is the clusters node sale. Now, the clusters are, I guess, a fraction of a node, so the wording is kind of weird here, I guess, but fundamentally what it means that there's going to be 9,600 clusters on sale, which is actually a really good number, given to the fact that there's a lot of node projects which had very massive amounts of nodes being sold. I don't really like the idea of this massive oversaturation. I do also understand that you actually do need a lot of nodes as well, and some of them might go offline and etc. But in general, I do like the idea that there is a level of scarcity within the actual nodes. And 50% of all the gas rewards that are being done on the PLYR chain is going to be distributed to these cluster holders, meaning that the more people are going to be using the chain and playing the games, more revenue you are going to be accumulating as one of the owners of the clusters. And the fully diluted valuation of these nodes is 5 million, which I think is fairly reasonable, and the distribution of tokens, which is going to be going through the node holders, is going to be 120 million PLYR over plus 4 years. And clusters obviously are, you know, it's basically staked, and this staking is going to be going live on July 7th. And just your staking adventure not only fortify our network defenses, but also rack up some sweet PLYR rewards. So by having these nodes, you are going to be getting the staking rewards. And you are not just earning the staking rewards, but you are also getting 50% of those gas fees that are spent throughout the chains. So there's two different sources of income, one that is kind of more set in stone and one that is based on more on the on-chain activity. And on July 8th, they are going to be opening up the bridge. This is going to be for the Zoo tokens, which were part of the Zoo Racer project. And they are going to be converted into this other token known as GAMR at 1-to-1 ratio. And that bridge is going to be happening on July 8th. And more documentation about that can probably be found on the official websites on Zoo in case you're going to be interested in that. And the GAMR token and PLYR token can be staked out on July 10th. So in case you want to be getting some APY returns on both of these tokens, you will have that opportunity on July 10th. And then we're going to be having the PGU launch on 15th, and that is the Gaming Universe, which is basically having all types of different functionalities, in-game assets trading, that is the NFTs, cross-chain interactions, automatic game settlement, in-game chips, so that is the ERC21 token, and in-game NFTs, secure transactions, and player data management, which is probably very important for airdrop campaigns and other things. And then there's obviously the ID, which we talked about earlier, which is going to be used to basically log into these games and interact with these on a secure way. And then there's going to be the airdrop project, which is going to be happening on July 30th, and that's when it's basically going to be starting. And then there is going to be private and public jails on different platforms. I presume we're going to be keeping up to date with those actually on our updates on the channel. So in case you're interested in that, pay attention to our socials, and obviously their socials in case you're looking for opportunities to basically get into the token sales instead of the node sales, for example, or maybe the nodes are going to be sold out so fast that you will not have the opportunity to do so. And then there are going to be some gaming collaborations with Avalanche and other marketing types of projects. And then there's going to be a centralized exchange listing on July for both PLYR and the GAMR token. And as a last thing we're going to be covering in this video, I do want to talk about the actual tokenomics, because a lot of the times we have projects in the gaming space which are extremely centralized, and more large value sum is going to be going into the developers and etc. But when I actually look into the breakdown of the tokenomics here, it's actually not too bad. So we have the foundation, that being the team and the partners, only getting 14%. We have so many projects recently which have been 30, 40%. So a lot of these rewards are actually going to be going into the people. So we're going to be having node rewards being 16% of the total supply, which is distributed throughout over 4 years. We're going to be having buck bounty and liquidity going into 8%. The people who are going to be staking the PLYR token are going to be accumulating 5%. And then there's going to be a private sale and seed sale, which are in together 5%. And the airdrop itself is going to be 4% of the supply. So that is also pretty massive, given out to the fact that they are already giving so much toward the staking and also from the node rewards. And then there's some community and developer onboarding rewards, I believe. So the actual rewards here are pretty good. Now, there doesn't seem to be any vesting schedules for the developers, according to this, which is probably the only minus that I can tell you altogether about PLYR. But when I look at the tokenomics from a very holistic scale, I think it's actually pretty good. So overall, PLYR is a pretty exciting project. Having that whole Avalanche, ecosystem behind it gives you a lot of different types of opportunities, obviously. And you already have a set of games which are already part of the ecosystem, and there's a lot of ones that are probably going to be onboarded in the future or are going to be migrating into PLYR in the future. So there's a lot of upside there as well. So this is going to be a pretty exciting project, and that's what I have to basically tell you about this project today. We are going to be doing a separate video on talking about the actual node sales on a lot more closer date. So stay tuned for that. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for another video on the channel. Make sure to subscribe and like. I will be seeing you next time.